What's up, Russ?
What's going on?
What are we doing today? Live with the Bible?
Like every week. Back in the room with you.
All right. So what happened? What happened this past week? No more mass shootings. That was nice. Or was it? There was like a dozen since we last saw each other.
No, this week was all right.
No, I think there was like 10.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait. We talked about the guy that shot up the hospital. And,
Yeah. There's like 10 more since then.
Really?
Yeah, what's today, Monday?
Well, there's a mass shooting like every day in this country.
Yeah, but there's like a dozen over the weekend or something crazy like that.
It just doesn't get really reported on unless it's like,
Yeah. So,
sensational. Like the days of like, someone shooting up like a store and killing like 5 or 6 people doesn't rate
it's
anymore.
barely newsworthy anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
now it's got to be like an 18-year-old who's like a proud boy who kills black people, or like, a school shooting. It's got to be like, a guy with back pain killing his doctor, like, a backstory.
A backstory?
Yeah, you need a good backstory.
Like back pain story?
Well, that's funny. But I was thinking more like, a scenario that led to the shooting.
I got you. So we don't have much to talk about today because, man, we just...
By the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what is this?
I was
like
thinking...
urine. It's like a urine sample, right?
I don't like white wine.
I don't either. Like, I'm going to finish them up, though. I never even heard of this type of wine. It's a...
It's a tiger on the bottom.
Malvasia Bianca?
You might be drinking tiger piss.
Malvasia Bianca is an ancient grape variety that originated in the Mediterranean and can be found growing all over the region, from Italy to Croatia to the Canary Islands and Madeira.
But why is there a tiger on the label?
It is made in a range of styles, from dry white wines to sweet wines to fortified wines.
That would be more like if it was Asian, it would make sense that there's a tiger, because that's where tigers are.
It's called Paper Tiger. Is the brand, I guess? Or
That's a terrible name, because a paper tiger is like a diss.
Yeah.
It's like calling someone like, fake tough.
Yeah, it's kind of like Putin's army these days, huh?
Yeah.
Let me see.
So speaking of army, you had brought up mass shootings. I was thinking about that maniac in Vegas that shot up that concert.
Yeah. What a dick.
That was insane, man. Do you remember how many people he shot?
Like 68.
Well, I think he killed 68.
Oh, like 200
I think
or something, right?
He shot over like 200 people. Yeah.
He just shot into a crowd from a very elevated position.
Yeah, and it was like totally planned out. Like there's like security footage of him like throughout that whole week, like bringing the guns in and hanging out, and like he like put all his ducks in a row, very like methodically, and then just did it, man. That was crazy.
Yeah. I wonder when that record's going to get broken.
Oh, please. Oh, that the Virginia Tech thing was terrible. Remember that one?
Well,
There's so many, like, you forget until you start talking about them.
Yeah. Shit.
Like, so many you forget.
I was thinking about it this weekend, because over the weekend I went to a public event with thousands of people in Flushing Meadow Park. It was a water lantern festival. I think I sent you some pictures.
Sure.
So for those who don't know, it's like you get this like wooden thing with some paper that you can decorate, and you put a candle in the middle. It's an electric candle, and you slide it down this piece of plexiglass into the lake, and thousands of people do this. So it's like all this like cool like.
You're talking to our fans like they didn't see Karate Kid Part 2 in Okinawa.
I don't remember anything about that movie.
Really? Yeah. Sorry, it's definitely like a deep reference.
What's the same girl from Karate 1 in Karate Kid Part 2?
She wasn't in it. No, she wasn't in it. He had a new Asian girlfriend in Karate Kid Part 2. And then he had to fight that other guy, the Asian guy, the Japanese guy, because he was into
Is that the one with the drum that went like back and forth with the...
Yes, and that turned out to be like the move that he won with. It was like the back and forth punches.
I don't know.
Because there's no defense against the punch.
Well, there's no defense.
No karate master can ever defend a left and a right hook.
It's almost as lethal as that. What do you do with the crow or whatever?
The crane, yeah.
The crane.
Yeah, there's no defending that either.
and it's not like it's telegraphed either, right?
Well, I mean, in fairness, he practiced it over a period of like 3 days. So
this is true.
This
is true, and it's very telegraphed. Like when you get into that position,
right?
Like,
There's
what else is
nothing
coming?
you can do, right? And Johnny just like ran right into it.
Is it possible Johnny never saw it before, so he wouldn't even know like to?
Well, he definitely had like that look on his face, like of surprise. But again, anyone who's never even been in a fight recognizes if a person is standing on one foot, there's only so much they can do from that position.
You might want to just back off for a second
right?
and let him get tired.
Right, back off.
Like how long are you going to stand like that?
Sweep the leg again.
Sweep the leg.
I mean,
You got a problem with that?
no sensei.
There's no mercy in this dojo.
That fucking movie. You know it's a series.
I heard Cobra Kai. I heard it was really good, actually.
You heard? Really?
Yeah.
You haven't watched it?
No.
I watched like the first 2 seasons.
I thought you were surprised that I actually heard of it.
No, I'm surprised that like you haven't even checked it out.
Which
It's one of those. It's like one of those shows, though. It's a good first season. Then it starts getting a little like crazy. They have to always up the ante in these shows. But like that's not what made the show popular. Like you don't have to. And then it ups the ante to the point where it becomes like just ridiculous. Like all these people should be in prison, basically. So you're watching like psychopaths, basically.
He's fighting Drago.
Just it's there's like an all-out brawl in a high school, and like one kid like falls off like a ledge like 5 stories down onto like a staircase like handrail, breaks his. It just got too.
Oh, he doesn't land like on one knee in his hands and just stares into the camera.
That's called the superhero landing.
Oh, yeah, I like that landing.
So I don't even know how we got on the topic of the Karate Kid.
I don't either.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Who cares? So at this Lantern Festival, everybody decorates.
There we go. That's how we got on to the Lantern Festival.
Right. Everybody decorates their boats with like inspirational messages and everything. Hopes for the future, whatever it is. So I decided you had 4 sides of the paper to decorate.
It's like the Asian version of thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like the waterborne as opposed to like they have the ones that like you let go and they go up in the air like the balloons. So I wrote on all 4 sides in different fonts and different sizes, libelthebible.com. Not knowing that the whole thing was sponsored by a religious organization.
That's great. That's even better.
So when I got up to launch it, I almost wanted to hide the candlelight so people couldn't read it because the guy was like, next. Like,
it's not even a religious organization. It's like a radio station.
Yeah, it was some sort of radio station.
They have that shit in New York. I had no idea. It's like prayer radio.
It's like 96.3 or something. Well, 95.5 WPLJ became a Christian or a religious station years ago. Yeah.
I didn't know that either. Now. Wow.
Stay away from the low end of the dial.
What's going on in New York City?
I just think nobody's listening to radio anymore, so it's why.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you like what's on any of the stations.
I gotta tell you, I don't have a radio in my house. Like I'd have to go into my car to tune into actual radio.
Like I have a receiver with a radio, but like the antenna's not hooked up. Like those wire antennas.
Yes, I've got a shower radio from like whenever.
I mean,
that actually plays a CD, like a watertight CD.
In all fairness,
and it's got that wire antenna that broke off.
You have a radio in the car. You can just run into the car. And
that's how I started. I said I'd have to go into my car to listen to a radio station.
I didn't hear that part. I'm sorry.
Because you're always just waiting to talk,
That's true. I mean, that's not fair. I'm not always waiting to talk. When I'm around other people, I really listen. It's when I'm around you, I'm usually waiting to talk.
So let me finish the Lantern Festival. So I put libelthebible.com on each of the, we'll get to this in a minute, each of the sides. And I slid it down into the water. So what I did, now at this point it's dark out. And around the lake in Flushing Meadow, it's relatively dark where you can't, unless you really walk up to somebody, you really can't see their faces. So I decided that would work to my advantage. So what I did was, as my lantern slowly floated in the water, I would walk like 25 feet.
And then
and go, what does that lantern say? www.libelthebible.com. What is that all about? Right? And then I'd walk like 25 more feet and do it again because it's dark. Nobody realizes I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just shouting it out. But then some of the people I were with caught up to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what's that lantern say? www.libelthebible.com? And then when somebody else would be like, hey, what was that you said? Like, they would get like, and then somebody was like, wow, what is that? So I did that like
So
maybe
did you
10
check
times.
like the hits this week?
Yeah, 0.
Nothing.
No increase at all.
Good job, Scott. Good job. That's pretty funny, though.
It was pretty funny. I should have recorded myself doing that because it was.
That would have been a good TikTok.
What really got me though was I realized that I did it in one location, and then I went further on, and I did it again, and then looked to my right and realized somebody that I like 3 times ago I said it. The same people were standing next to me, so they're probably like, "What's with this guy?"
No, in today's like day and age, they would have figured like you're on the spectrum, you know.
Yeah.
You're like, that guy seems really cool. We should hang out with him. He's differently abled. It's a lot of cachet for us, you know.
Oh, really? People do that?
What? Virtue signal? Are you asking me if people virtue signal? Yes, the answer is yes.
You mean people hang out with other people that are different from themselves just to say they hang out with people that are different from themselves?
It's like a baseball card collection. Here's like, you know, my gay couple friends, and here are my, you know, differently able like friends, and he's on the spectrum.
And here's my Pete Rose rookie card.
I got to tell you this.
I'm not getting the analogy.
I have a massive. Oh, so I want to. So
focus.
I want to say
focus.
two things. Two things. One, happy Pride to everyone who celebrates Pride Month.
Oh yeah. Lots of love.
I also want to throw a shout out. We actually have someone who's paying, like who paid us like 99 cents for our content.
That's awesome.
Do you remember her name? Was it Rebecca? I think it was Rebecca. So we want to like thank Rebecca.
I do want to thank Rebecca. I didn't know her name. I just saw that it was there. I didn't really.
Yeah, there's a name there. It's like a first name and last name. I'm not going to like throw out the last name, but it's Rebecca, I think. If I'm getting it wrong, I apologize, but that's really cool. But the whole thing with the pride flag, because we were talking about virtue signaling, I got to tell you something, man. I'm really fucking annoyed by this pride flag nonsense.
I'm really annoyed by a couple of things.
So the pride flag is perfect. It's a rainbow.
Sure.
Right? A rainbow meaning like all inclusive. Like that's like the pride flag like encompasses like the entire spectrum, right? That's literally the rainbow is the color spectrum, all the colors.
Sure.
But now that's not enough. Now you need to add like colors for the trans community.
Mm-hmm.
Now also like for brown people, like you have to add colors.
Okay.
Right? No, you don't need to add any of that because the rainbow encompasses all of that.
Even though they're not visually standing
the rainbow
out. Hey, calm it down, buddy.
Encompasses all of that.
Calm it down.
The rainbow encompasses all of that.
Okay, are you done repeating that?
So I'm just saying, man, it's like enough. Like how much more shit are we going to add to a rainbow flag? And by the way, you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's a way for them to lord it over other people, to say we know how to behave, and we know like we're the cool kids, and we know this term and we know that term, and it doesn't matter if you're trying to learn and understand and be an ally. We're just going to shame you for not knowing this latest thing that
right.
We've invented.
Once you think you know, we're going to make it yes.
And that's my problem. The problem is that it's no longer about the actual underlying foundational intent. It's about like this virtue signaling bullshit to show that you're like in this little fucking club, and those that don't know are like beneath you and less than you.
Okay, that's one way of maybe it's being presented, but it also could be that while pride is like well accepted, well, I wouldn't say well accepted, but it's out there. But then they said they shifted the focus to like trans people.
Well, I mean, it's well accepted in like civilized places, right?
right.
Like in civilization.
So I think a lot of people have thought about pride and thought about all that stuff, but now they want to give you some focus on you don't understand the plight of like the trans person of color, like their struggle maybe is a little different than the struggle of just like I don't know how to say standard gay people. Like I don't know the verbiage.
So I fully understand and I fully support the trans community. This ain't the way to do it. All you're doing is pissing off the people that you're trying to win over.
Why? Because you bought a flag and now you have to buy a new flag? So like what really how's it pissing you off? You sound like the guys that complain about now that we need to have a third bathroom? Like how does that affect you?
Well, I just explained it to you because we already started off with the premise of the rainbow flag. Perfect. The rainbow flag is perfect. If you want to convince people of your rights or your equal rights or your civil rights or however you want to label it, doing it through like made up shit rather than, I don't know. I guess, look, I haven't studied the trans community and what all their issues are. Like I can guess what a lot of the issues are, you know what I mean? And I know that a lot of like trans, especially like trans teens wind up like killing themselves. It must be horrific. It must be horrific, like their lack of support, you know, like I'm sure they feel shame. Like I'm sure like all of these things because of the way society is structured, right? So I get all that. I don't know what the strategy is to reach people and have them think differently about your community. So I don't know. But I do know it's not about like pushing like another flag and then shaming people if they have like the old pride flag and like saying, you know what I mean? Like just shaming them for that.
I mean, is it any different than anything else? Like, what are those 2 years ago Jordans? What do you got, an Xbox 3? Like, it's always about the latest and greatest.
But those, right, but those are shallow materialistic things. This is like a fight for like equality. And if you want to be taken seriously, you have to be a serious person. And fighting over like the flag, that's shallow bullshit.
Is there a big fight over the flag?
I wouldn't say it's a big fight like in the mainstream media, but like definitely in corners of like the internet, like you could see like if somebody posts like,
I don't hang out in those corners, man.
If somebody on Twitter posts like, you know, happy pride and it's like the standard rainbow flag, like invariably like the comments will be filled with like, you know, people who come in and like
Right. I got you.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's like the person who made the original post, like their intent was great. But now what do you think they're going to feel like after they start getting attacked? You think that's helping you?
Yeah.
So it's I don't know, man. It's all, I understand why it's happening. I think it's a matter of people are helpless because we've gotten into a political situation where people are helpless. Like their votes don't really fucking matter. Both parties.
Not when you keep stealing elections.
Well, both parties are corporatist parties that work for corporations. The only things they run on are basically virtue signaling bullshit to their bases. For the right, it's the Second Amendment and abortion. For the left, it's
the Second Amendment and abortion.
Well, Second Amendment abortion, and then like gay rights and like things like that, right? But it's all culture war bullshit. Like it's nothing really substantive. There's no economic like policy or platforms that they really run on. And if they do, the Republicans run on like lowering taxes, but really the only people they lower taxes on are like people who make like, you know, $200,000 or more, like anyone else. their taxes don't really get
They're
lowered.
jobs creators, man.
The Democrats don't run on any economic policy, and if they do, they fucking abandon it the second they get elected. And Joe Biden's like, what can I do? I can't do anything. Like, I'm not like... And it's like, really? Because I don't remember that being your platform when you were running for president.
I can't do shit.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that being said. So it's like, because the Democrats don't want to do anything because it's not in the interest of their corporate donors to do anything. So what winds up happening is we now have a society and we have kids who have been raised, especially since the crash in 2008, the housing crash. It's a gig economy. There's no real jobs for them. Everything's being automated. They're not empowered. So their only power now comes from making fun of people like you and me. People who are aren't in on their nomenclature. You know what I mean? Aren't in on their little cliques. Even though we're allies, we're fully supportive, but we don't know the right terms, and we're we're boomers, even though we're not boomers, we're Gen X, the best goddamn fucking generation.
Yeah, I guess.
So I think that's what's leading to all this virtue signaling. That's the only thing they have left.
So I have to get back to the first thing you said. How is this analogous to a baseball card collection? What are you talking about?
Oh, that was
you just went on a 15-minute.
When I'm filling out a baseball card collection, I need my All-Stars, and I need to fill out guys from the Mets and the Yankees. So in modern day society, if you want to be cool and hip, you need your gay couple friend. You need you need the rainbow and the brown rainbow and the
silver and gold All-Star cards and the sticker book.
Right. You need all of it. So again, the main takeaway should be I support all human rights, but fucking you got to be reasonable about the tactics that you're using and whether or not the tactics that you're using are substantive or just nothing, nothing, just signaling bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So, as much as I'd love to get into the Bible right now, I have this gift that was given to me for my 50th birthday, I mentioned. It encompasses two things in my life that I love: the Bible, religion, and Star Trek.
You should throw a picture of it up on the website.
Yeah, I took some pictures of it the other day before it opened. So I'm going to unwrap it. So it's shaped as a cube.
It's a massive... It's big, yeah.
It's a good foot by
it's
foot by
It's
foot.
like the size of Scott's torso, I'd say.
What the hell? You mean
put it up to your torso?
Lean and thin and barely see it?
No.
Washboard abs type?
Is that your waist? It's in your crotch. Put it up on top of your waist. Oh, your belly hangs over it.
Wow, you're a jerk.
Yeah, stay on mic, asshole. The box is so big. Scott's 2 feet off mic now.
Whatever, man. Because I'm taking off the
Scott's
cellophane.
doing a literal unwrapping, and now he's describing it. I'm sure this makes for great listening.
This is great radio. All right, so basically it's a cube shape, as in Borg shape, and it's a Star Trek advent calendar. You know what an advent calendar is?
Yes, Amy gets an advent calendar for Noah every year.
Right, so it's the 24 chocolates or whatever it is.
So explain to people what an advent calendar is.
An advent calendar is this weird thing that I used to get as a kid. It was cartoonish, very Christmassy, and it had 24 little flaps. And you opened it up, and there's a little piece of chocolate in it, and the 25th flap was a big chocolate star, I think. So every day during December, you'd open one at a time and eat the chocolate. Well, apparently, this is a Star Trek advent calendar. So I'm going to put... this is number 4.
It's broken up into 4 different...
4 different drawers or here.
Yeah.
So, let's see, I'm going to open this up.
16, 20...
How is this numbered?
4. I mean, this would make a lot of sense if we were a video podcast.
Yeah, well, no, we got to get this done here. There's no 1 here.
Yeah. Why don't you go a little further off, Mike, Scott, and just...
Sorry, it's not 2, 8, 9, 11, 12.
Scott drifted off Mike more than the Enterprise drifted when it hit the Nexus.
I found it. All right. So here's number 1. It's a box, a sizable box, like a Christmas order.
Are we going to open
size.
all the boxes?
No, just one a week. So I have 24 weeks.
All right.
So I'm opening up this cardboard box. It's about the size of a, I don't know, cell phone? I don't know. It's pretty wide. Okay, inside the box, it's wrapped in Borg tissue paper.
It's about the size of, like, if you were to get light bulbs, it's about the size of, like, a light bulb box.
All right, so this is number 1. The game of Fizbin, as seen in the episode A Piece of the Action, was said by Kirk to have originated on Beta Antares 4 and was a real game requiring intelligence. It can be played with an ordinary pack of cards on which our set here is based. Have fun whether you're playing at night or on a Tuesday. These are Star Trek playing cards in order to play the game of Fizbin.
All right, you could probably play that because it said like it requires intelligence. It didn't say it requires knowledge. Because if it requires knowledge, I would say you're not qualified to play that.
And what I don't like is it can be played with an ordinary pack of cards on which our set is based, which means they put no thought into it at all.
So it's just playing cards?
Just a regular deck of cards. You know what?
We'll open it up, see if it's like Star Trek themed.
All right, it better be Star Trek.
Ace of Spades is probably Kirk, right? Kirk's got to be the Ace of Spades. Or a king.
No, he's not a king. If anything, he's against kings. All right. Now, the deck of cards is also wrapped in cellophane. All right.
Not a king, but a preacher. I believe he's earned it.
KRS-One?
That's right.
Nice. All right, opening the pack. All right. It's a little smaller than a regular.
By the way, we were talking about like a rap song, and it wound up being KRS-One, and it was remember, N-word, 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 N-word. No, hey, N-word, 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 dick, N-word, 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 dick. De Boer can suck my N-word, 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 dick.
This was on Edutainment?
I think it was.
By the way, while I
Edutainment.
was editing the episodes, looking at editing the website, I was listening to that episode, and I went to pull up my Edutainment.
Yeah.
I don't have Edutainment in my library.
Really?
It's weird, right? Yeah, it's a normal deck of playing cards. The king is the Enterprise. The Joker is the rabbit from the Alice in Wonderland planet.
The Alice
Trelane
in Wonderland planet.
Oh shit!
my
Ace of Spades is Khan.
Nice.
The rest are just regular cards.
What? There's no Kirk or Spock?
Oh wait, face cards. The Jack of Spades is the Galileo shuttlecraft.
Why would they make?
I don't know. The Queen of Diamonds is a Klingon battle cruiser. Whatever, man. Oh, it does have the rules for Fizbin.
It's not a bird of prey.
No, this one is not a bird of prey. This would be a battle cruiser of
Okay.
some sort. Probably the D7.
They don't call like their battleships birds of prey, like all of them.
No. Just that smaller one with the wings that move.
Okay.
And they stole that shit from the Romulans. But anyway.
Well, yeah, because they're idiots.
So
they're too stupid to like.
So
build
one night
anything.
you come over. If we ever come over without doing a podcast, we'll play Fizbin because it's got the rules.
All right. Fizbin.
Yes. All right. So you want to get to what we came here for?
I guess, man.
I don't really because all right. Listen, we finished Exodus last week.
Yeah.
Now we're doing Leviticus, and I was excited.
Yeah.
'Cause I was getting a little bored with the whole fucking leaving. Where were they leaving? Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured the end of Exodus, they got where they're going, but they really haven't, right?
They haven't gotten anywhere.
Right. They just left Egypt. So
Yeah, and then they spent like a year, like at the base of a mountain,
yeah. So,
while God was droning on like me during a podcast.
So Leviticus 1, I was thinking it was going to be like have no relationship to the last 2 seasons, and like we're going to get a new story. No, it's just no.
So
Awful.
So after I read a little bit of the first like several chapters of Leviticus, I went to look it up. Like I typed in literally in Google, what is Leviticus about? Because,
You going to give it away?
And basically Leviticus takes place during Exodus. Leviticus is basically the period of time after they finish building the tabernacle.
Yeah.
It's like it's a month and a half period of time from when they finish building the tabernacle to when they leave and start wandering like the desert. So that's like the time frame of Leviticus.
All right, because right now they're all set up. They got their tabernacle going. They got everything going.
Correct. So now before they're going to leave and wander the desert for 40 years, as is known by every single human being.
I haven't heard that yet.
This is now what Leviticus is. And basically for the audience, Leviticus is going to be, it's like 27 chapters or some shit like that. It's like 27, 30 chapters.
Seriously?
Not today.
No, I know that. But,
I mean, the whole
you know
thing.
What? That's not bad. Because if they all suck like these did.
Yeah, it'll be
I read
2-3
9
episodes.
chapters,
Yeah.
And before I found anything of substance.
Yeah. And basically it's instructions.
Yeah, but I don't want to breeze through the Bible, like start dismissing stuff, because this
It's
is our job. We need to drag this out.
I mean, I sort of wanted to breeze through it. So I came over with I usually come over with notes, and each chapter will take up like a full sheet of paper for me, like typed out. So like I type out the notes. Today, I have notes on like 9 chapters. That's not even a half a page.
Yeah, I started taking notes. I don't know why.
All right, so let's get into
Leviticus
it. So we're
1.
going to get into Leviticus. We'll get into it real quick, and hopefully, like the next one. Is the next one Deuteronomy? Because I like that name.
I haven't looked ahead. I like Leviticus
because it reminds me of Dutes, like Deuteronomy,
like duty.
Yeah, it sounds like duty, like Dutes.
Dutes.
Yeah, like a Deuteronomy sounds like a festival where everyone's just like duding.
No, Deuteronomy sounds like something they're removing something from your duodenum or something.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
What are they removing?
Well, that's kind of where poop comes from, right? Your duodenum. Isn't that the thing lower in the
your duodenum?
Yeah, isn't that like the end of your small intestine? Like right before
I
your
thought that's
anus?
like the thing that you put your feet on.
It's an ottoman.
Well, a duodenum is like for a 2-person ottoman.
Yeah, when you're doing butt stuff, it's a duodenum. All right, so Leviticus 1, the burnt offering. I only have one comment about this.
Go ahead.
He's gonna start describing like what the offering should be, and he goes, "Livestock shall be taken from the herd or the flock."
Yeah.
No shit.
Well,
where else would it be taken from?
So I
random cow walking through the town.
So I understood what he meant.
Oh, you do. Okay.
I actually do. Yeah. So, because he's talking about the herd would be a cattle, right? A flock would be a sheep. So because then he goes into it later on, right? So basically, the burnt offering, God gives instructions on how to prepare a burnt offering. And there's different instructions if it's a cow, a sheep, or a bird.
Right.
Okay? But here's the thing. Here's what I found interesting about this part. So God summoned Moses to the meeting tent to give him these instructions, right? Okay. Why? Why can God, like, first of all, if we backtrack, God appeared to Moses in a burning bush. God appeared to Israel, just his voice. Like, God just shows up and appears whenever he wants, wherever he wants to speak to people. Mm-hmm. Why the need for the tent? Unless at some point, like what we were talking about, it's no longer the God, it's Yahweh. So at what point... But the bottom line is this. If it's God, why does he need Moses to go into this goddamn tent to give him these instructions? Why not just tell the people? Or, better yet, if they can't hear your voice, like, fill them with divine inspiration, knowing what to do.
I mean, listen, he might have tried the burning bush once. And that led to my theory last week. The burning bush is what caused the raging VD that burned down Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's just weird. You know what I mean?
You know what it is? Maybe he was able to, like, through the burning bush, like, send short messages. It was like it wasn't broadband, you know. It was like a very narrow band communication.
Right, like it was just like Morse code. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just had to
something
like
like that.
send out something real quick.
So like little things that drive you to do this. So now you have a full communication device.
So again, like that sounds reasonable, and I get it. So then, God is not an all-powerful God.
So a burnt offering from the herd. Hey, wait. Do you think? Let's say for some reason the whole herd dies, and like a tree falls over and all the sap leaks out of the tree, and 1,000,000 years later we find an amber herd. That's a real knee slapper.
You didn't just think of that,
I
right?
just thought.
No,
I thought about
really?
30 seconds ago.
Wow, that was a lot of dot connecting to get to that. The herd with the tree.
Yeah, the sap. Yeah.
Why did the herd have to die?
Because you're not going to get stuck in tree sap if you're alive. You're going to move away.
Okay. Let's move on to Leviticus 2. Unless you have more to say about Leviticus 1. Any more puns?
No, just you know what? Let me just go through it because this is almost a copy and paste for every single offering. It's got to be a male without blemish. Bring to the tent entrance. Lay your hand on its head. Slaughter the bull before the Lord. Blood dashed on the sides of the altar. Flay and cut up the meat. The sons of Aaron put the fire on and the wood on.
What's flaming, by the way?
Flaying? Like a...
Not
like
fillet. Flay.
I thought-
F-L-A-Y.
I thought flaying was like cutting it in slices.
F-L-A-Y.
I thought that's what it meant.
That's what it means?
I think that's what it means.
Okay.
You're trying to pin me down and say, you said that's what it means.
I thought you said fillet.
No, flay.
Okay.
The head and the suet go on the barbecue. What's the
a
suet? I don't know. I think it's the body, based on the context, but we're low on vocabulary words, so we'll add that. The entrails and the legs, they get washed with water. You burn shit, and it's a odor that's pleasing to the Lord. Yeah. Same with the offering of the flock.
I feel like we already discussed all this in Exodus. He mentioned all this.
Yeah, but he goes into excruciating detail on everything. So now, if you're going to offer
so then you're going to
bird,
subject our audience to the excruciating.
I'm already halfway through it, and it took me 2 hours to get through it. Burnt offerings of birds can only be turtle doves or pigeons. Second reference to turtle doves in my life.
That's fucking stupid.
And you have to wring off its head, burn it, blood drain down on the side of the altar, remove the crop and its contents, throw it to the east of the altar with the rest of the ashes, and then tear it apart by the wings. Like, don't cut it. Don't, like, rip it off. Just tear it apart. And then the same thing with grain offerings, the procedure for that. And he stresses no leaven.
A fucking hillbilly.
No leaven or honey.
Yeah.
So honey's new, right? Like, he wasn't anti-honey before.
Well, it seems like he's pro-honey because he's always talking about the land of milk and honey. Right? The land of milk and honey has been mentioned twice now.
Yeah. And he wants salt with the offerings. Salt with all the offerings.
Yeah.
Is it like that taste buds? Like, or the food just bland and shitty?
Yeah.
Yo, this is what they should do. Mm-hmm. They should leave all the offerings on the altar and just take Lot's wife and, like, stand her up next to the offering. And they can just chop off, like, whatever salt they want for the meal.
It's fucked up.
Oh, yeah. Too soon?
Too soon, man. It's only been like 3,000 years.
Reminds me of a meme I saw of, Daddy, pass the mom and pepper. That's pretty funny, right?
That's great.
Oil and frankincense, offerings of well-being.
You should have a section on the website of all your jokes.
That'd be a huge site.
That would be really big. All right, you know what?
Then I'd have to monitor the comedy website to see how many people are biting my shit, you know?
Well, let's modify that. No, let's modify that. You should, to keep it small, a website with your jokes that were funny.
That would include the Amber Heard, man.
Okay.
Do you think anybody's made that joke yet? Like, in the world?
No.
You think it's original?
About, like, the Leviticus herd?
No, any herd. Getting trapped in Amber.
No, I think that is definitely an original joke.
Should I reserve the domain name?
I think you should definitely head to the city and go to open mic night.
What if I get amberheard.com, but spell it like herd, Herd. They probably scoffed that up already.
HERD.
Yeah.
No, like that's what you should do.
All right. You want to take over the website? I'm gonna the podcast. I'm gonna go buy it now. Listen, I bought this libeltothebible.com on a whim. Do you realize if that domain was not available, we might not be doing this podcast?
It's unbelievable. Because the whole thing hinged on...
No, it's just that night the ball just got rolling, and I was like, oh, let me see if oh my God, it's real. It's available. Let's move on this project.
Oh, I see.
It might have been something stupid, like something else that rhymed, and it wouldn't have been Bible.
Yeah.
It'd be like Pictionary to Dictionary or something like every day we just draw every word in the dictionary.
That's great.
I'm here every Monday. Come on back. All right. I think
the first word is A. Draw A.
And you can't use words, right?
You can't use letters. And we can't move on until someone guesses. There's no pass. You got to guess A.
Oh, crap.
Like a cup. Can you even define A? I can't define A.
Maybe draw a house, like an A-frame.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And when someone says, that looks like the letter A, you're like, no, it's a fucking house.
Well, actually, if they say A, they got it.
Oh.
So, like, if they say, that looks like the letter A, they said A.
Oh, okay, right. They don't have to claim it as the answer. They just, it just has to come out of their mouth.
All right. So, you want to move on to Leviticus 2 now? the grain offerings. So the first one, Leviticus 1, was the burnt offering. So now the same exact thing is going to happen, but for the grain offerings.
Yeah. Actually, I realized I jumped through that. Yeah.
You do that all the time. You know why?
Get away from my notes.
Because you write Leviticus 2 really tiny. So of course you can't see that you've moved on. So tell me where we are now.
And here's
Scott.
the instructional part of the podcast.
Tell me where we are. Which part are we
we're
on?
Number 3 now.
So I don't sound like an idiot.
Offerings of well-being.
Great. We're at the offerings of well-being. Unbeknownst to me, we did the grain offerings. Okay. Offerings of well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, the fat, entrails, kidneys, liver removed. That's it, really.
So,
and all the above rules.
So there was one thing that caught my eye in the offering of well-being.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it is.
It ends with, so in Leviticus 3, verse 16, not the start of verse 16, but it ends with the ending of verse 16 heading into verse 17. All fat is the Lord's. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your settlements. Mm-hmm. You must not eat any fat or any blood. So it's one thing to say, we already knew about the blood because he already gave that like edict to someone. I forgot who, maybe Noah, like he told Noah like no blood or whatever. Yeah. So, okay, no blood, but now no fat. Okay, that makes sense. But when it starts off in 16 where it says all fat is the Lord's, that's like what struck me. Like, it's one thing to say don't eat the fat. It's another thing to say, yo, that shit is mine.
Do you think he's referring to big booties? Like, that shit is his? You gotta stick with skinny chicks?
I don't think it's chicks. I think it's like he's into guys. He's into boys.
Oh, big booty boys.
He already took Moses' assistant. What was that kid's name that nobody's seen since? Like we're all supposed
Joshua?
Like he disappeared, remember, in the tent, and no one's seen him since. We're supposed to pretend like.
What if he shows up like 1,000 years later in the Bible, like at the same age? Like he just came out of the mountain. He's like, what happened? It was just yesterday.
I would believe it.
Yeah.
I would believe it because that would be more reasonable than this being a god. That means he went through like some kind of wormhole.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
Festival
he's like
travel.
Matthew McConaughey. He's been like spending time in like a library in a black hole.
Is that what that movie's about?
I can't believe you haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
It's like totally like you're
it's
right up your alley.
Totally up my black hole.
That's weird. All right, so that was Leviticus 3 is the fat belongs to God. And the offerings of well-being are basically like, here's what you do in order to be well.
Is that what it was? Like make sure they deliver me from sickness or something?
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, Lord, be well. I'm giving you this.
No.
It's about your own selfishness?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that gets us to Leviticus 4, which is sin offerings. I found something really odd. Like,
I took notes on this one.
Okay, so basically in sin offerings, he talks about what a priest who brings shame on the people needs to do, if a ruler brings shame upon people, and if a regular person brings shame upon people. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I found fucked up was apparently a priest, like if a priest fucks up, unintentionally even,
mm-hmm.
like not only is he bringing shame upon himself, but he's bringing like shame upon the people as well, and like it's almost like a strike against the people.
Oh, maybe you're in charge of everybody below you in the hierarchy. So like if Moses fucks up, everybody's guilty. Yeah. If the priests fuck up, if Aaron fucks up, the priests and the people are guilty. Mm-hmm. If the priests fuck up, the people are guilty. If the people, you know what I mean? It's like the hierarchy.
Sure. The pyramid.
Yeah. So
and everyone below you.
There's a steady constant in what the punishment is for anybody sinning, though.
Is it death?
No. Barbecue.
They get barbecue?
No, they have to offer up like some shit to barbecue for the Lord.
Oh, right. But this is very specific too. It's unintentional sin, right? Like I keep thinking like that's what I remember it saying.
Yeah,
unintentional.
It says that repeatedly in several sections, and the reason for that is it's a snare. You can't help but sin because you don't even realize you're sinning. Like, they'll just drop you a new sin. Like, you remember that time you did this? You know that was a sin. Oh, fuck. That means God's hungry.
I mean,
bring me
also
a bowl.
Because the rules are so convoluted. And, by the way, a lot of the rules are just about the ritual itself, not even about, like... I mean, I guess we did cover, like, some of the rules when we did Exodus. Remember, we spent like 2 or 3 episodes going through some of the rules.
So the rules are pretty much slaughter the animal, dip your finger in blood, rub it on the altar, and then I noticed they started pouring all the blood out at the base of the altar. Mm-hmm. Now I can assume it's just not pooling there. I'm assuming there's some sort of drainage system. That blood's going somewhere.
He did ask for like a drainage system. Which is weird because this is supposed to be a portable tabernacle.
So,
but I do remember like a drainage.
I don't know if we're there or not, but you know what? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So the ruler sins, ordinary people. You refuse to testify to knowledge you know, barbecue. You touch unclean things, barbecue. Touch unclean humans, barbecue. Rash oath, whether it's good or bad. You make an oath rashly, barbecue. If you can't afford it, you can give birds. If you can't afford that, you can give grain. Restitution, break a commandment, barbecue.
Different animals for different hierarchies, though. So, like,
right, if you're poor,
right.
And I'm wondering why are they rich or poor people?
But the priests like have this particular animal. The ruler would have to sacrifice this particular animal.
What determines like if you're rich and poor at this point? Like how much you stole from the Egyptians on your way out?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Or is it just Moses, Aaron, and the priests, and the rest are just regular folks? So,
in fairness, it's like the Constitution of the United States, right? Like the Constitution was written, let's say, in 1783, 84. Then it got ratified in 1787 or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the fuck the years are. They were also forward thinking, right? Like they knew that the Constitution was going to last like generations. So like I'm assuming like these people who wrote like these rules are assuming one day like we will have a hierarchy. Like we might all be escaped slaves now, but like in the future like we will have like a ruler and we will have priests and you know.
Do you think anything written so far, since it was written so long ago, should maybe be reevaluated based on the times? Like maybe some things
I think we
that
should
were
read
written in
everything.
stone should be reevaluated.
What are you, a fucking asshole, man? I think everything should be read totally literally, word for word, and you should not take any rationale or reason that you think is rationale or reason into account, because the words are right there on the page.
And that should apply to documents that are only
Everything.
about 225
Everything.
years old. Okay.
It should apply to everything.
All right. That makes sense.
There's no room for interpretation, even though it specifically says interpretation. Like the entire judicial system is based on interpretation. Well, why would you have an entire branch of our government based around interpretation if you didn't need interpretation?
It's great that like only certain parts of it are immune from interpretation.
Oh, well, it's the parts that I think like, should be enacted.
So if you deceive a neighbor, but either by a deposit, a pledge, rob, defraud,
like
or found something they lost.
I'm sorry, let's go back to that. Deceive a neighbor through deposit. So like if like the lady next door to me is asleep and I deposit something in her mouth while she's asleep.
There's I think another chapter covers that later.
Okay.
No, it's if like they give you something to hold and like, remember that?
What if I give them something to hold?
Well, if they lose it,
no,
they got to give you back what you lost plus 20%.
Oh, nice.
So in your case, you might want to lose it a couple of times.
Oh, shit, that's a small dick joke.
Yeah. And then there was instructions concerning sacrifices. Fire. Oh, the fire on the altars kept burning.
Are you still like in Leviticus 6? Like where are we?
Yeah. Is that 6? Was there 5?
We did 5. No, wait. More rule. Oh, I wrote Leviticus 5. More rules for sinners.
I didn't write Leviticus.
And
5.
offerings with restitution. No, that's not even the title. That's just me writing more rules for sinners.
Holy shit, I wrote offerings with restitution. No, that was a title.
Because that's like a heading.
Okay, you're right.
Offerings with restitutions is a heading. More rules for sinners was
yeah,
not.
so if you take somebody's shit, like you got to give it back plus 20%. That's Leviticus 6. Plus a barbecue.
Uh-huh.
Always a barbecue.
More barbecue. Well, the smell pleases Yahweh.
Yeah.
He likes the smell of barbecue and fat. Yeah. And blood smeared all over the door. What's that all about?
It's got to stink bad.
Yeah, like what is that?
Is
that like his alien Pavlovian? Like that's what helps him eat?
Like it makes his mouth water.
Like seeing the chicken like tortured, or it's not even a chicken. He didn't even want chickens. What did he want? Pigeons and turtle doves.
Turtle doves.
Gross. What is he eating? What kind of fucking
Well, no, I
don't
think he actually eats the pigeons and turtle doves.
What's he eating?
They kind of throw him to the. He's eating the fucking the meat.
The meat.
He's not eating the poultry. It's garbage.
And he's not even eating the meat. He's eating like
he's leaving it there overnight. Well, listen, he's pouring all the blood down a drain.
Right. Probably he's collecting that blood.
Damn fucking Skippy, he's doing that. And so it doesn't look weird. He's telling them, dip your finger in the blood and start finger painting the altar with it. Mm-hmm. Just like it means something. It's just distraction from like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Right.
It's
right. The more they're doing, the less you're thinking.
Yes. It's like you ever see I think his name's Peter Navarro, one of the guys that just got arrested over that. Like, you ever watch him talk?
Yeah.
His hands are all over the fucking place.
Right.
It's distractions for stupid people.
Right.
It's like jingling car keys in front of them.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's what this is. They're like, oh.
Right.
Well, you're dumping blood.
It's kind of like Trump, like using words as melee weapons. Like he just throws out so much ridiculous bullshit. It's like it doesn't, and none of it has to be true because so much nonsense has left his mouth. Even if someone clings on to like one thing that he said, that's like perfect.
Yeah. Well, he's another one. Watch his hands. It's constant with the hands. He's always doing this okay symbol, which I thought was like a weird.
I gotta tell you.
Fuck the Islanders fans.
No, I'm almost. If he runs for president again, like when he ran the first time and he won, I was in serious despair and like dread. At this point, though, like...
You want to vote for him, don't you?
No, I'm not going to vote for him, but I don't not look forward to his presidency if he wins because it's so fucking funny, man. One, at this point, it's funny seeing like people overreact to him, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at the 4 years of his presidency, what did he do? Like, he didn't do anything.
He just talked.
He talked a lot, and the news reported on that. And so the news stirred up like all this fear and anxiety and got ratings for themselves, but nothing changed. The only thing he did was he lowered taxes on the rich, which every Republican wanted, and he put like judges on the Supreme Court, which any other Republican president would have done, the same exact judges. He didn't put any like judges that... You know what I mean? So his presidency was a standard Republican presidency outside of his tweets, you know? And so to me at this point, it's almost comical. He's like a massive troll. He's a troll. Yeah. And if you look at him as a troll, you can appreciate the fucking comedic genius of this fucking buffoon becoming president of the United States. It's such a great encapsulation of where we are and what a failed state we are. You know, what a failed country we
He's
are.
A stable comedic genius.
You know who's talking about running for president now, by the way?
I don't know.
These asshole brothers, you know, the
Property Brothers?
No, the Paul brothers, Jake Paul and that other guy.
Rand Paul?
No, not Rand Paul. Rand Paul's the politician. They're like YouTubers. Now they're like whatever. They got into boxing for like a little while. You don't know who I'm talking about? Really? Wow, you're totally out of like the cultural zeitgeist, man. So there's these two brothers that started like a YouTube channel. Then they were like they started boxing, but like boxing like former NBA players. Then they box like actual like former MMA guys. You know, and they won these boxing matches.
They won?
Yeah. Like one guy, they're jacked, man. Oh, yeah? One guy was like a wrestler in college, you know what I mean? So like, and one guy was like a boxer, but not for real. So like, they know how to fight. They're not fighting real boxers, you know, like they're not like fighting boxers in their prime or real boxers, but they're fucking up like all these other like celebrities and former MMA guys, you know, MMA guys whose specialty wasn't like stand up like fighting. They were more like grapplers, right? Yeah. But still, you know what I mean? Still, yeah. Well, one of them now is talking about like when he's 35, he wants to run for president, you know? And it's like, we are full on into idiocracy at this point. You ever see that movie, Idiocracy?
I love the word. Though.
It's fucking, it's a great movie. You should totally see it. And what's hilarious is, so in the future, like everyone's an idiot, and the number one show on TV that everyone watches all the time is called Ow, My Balls. And it's just people watching, like, people get their balls fucked up. Like, that's the show. You know what I mean? Like, that's entertainment to idiots. And we are rapidly approaching idiocracy, because the other day my son was telling me about like some shit he watches on YouTube where people get crushed like in the balls.
Well, didn't he also say like the one thing he's thankful for is his balls?
Well, that's a whole other thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the fat and the blood.
So Trump, man, I am not looking forward. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like dreading another Trump presidency, because I'm looking at it from a completely different point of view now.
I like the fact
it's comedy gold,
and I didn't really follow his tweets too much, but remember the bulk of his presidency was during the COVID lockdown, so he was literally on television every day live, so it was nonstop material, and you know it was pretty funny after a while. Except for, you know, the 1,000,000+ deaths.
Oh, and he was like standing there, and he would like come on and like shove the scientists away and talk about like
introducing a bright light into the
chlorine, like in your bleach in your asshole, and like the UV light. Yeah, it's just, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like, all right, yes, the guy's the president of the United States, but like, imagine if it was just like some guy came in off the street during this press conference.
Yeah, good point.
It's funny,
yeah.
you know? And I mean, what's he going to do? He's not going to affect anything, you know what I mean?
No, he affects the minds of millions.
Well, that's the only thing.
The thing.
But policy, you know, like, what did he really affect? He didn't affect anything.
He affects who people votes for, who gets into office, who starts making these
But he does
ridiculous
that now.
laws.
He could do that now. He's a kingmaker now, you know? He doesn't need to be president.
True. It seems like there's people turning.
I mean,
away
his
from
whole
that.
career could be like holding rallies at this point. He doesn't need
I
to
like
be
his
president.
rallies. Come on, they are funny.
It's great. It's great.
I like when he claims, "Wow, this place is overflowing," and then when you see other camera angles, the place is
No
dead
one's
empty,
there,
and
yeah.
they're like, "Oh, that's media manipulation."
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's lying.
I mean, look, and he speaks a lot of truth, right? Like he talks about like the media being full of shit, which they 100% are. You know?
He'd be a fun guy to hang out with at a bar, like right, you know.
The problem is he wouldn't be at no bar that you're hanging out at because he's a fucking elitist.
Not only that, he doesn't even drink alcohol.
No, he. Oh, that's right. He
And that's
doesn't-
you know what? That's why I'm a little
He
suspect
doesn't.
of Joe Biden too.
Right.
Like he don't drink either.
You
But
know
I think
what
Joe Biden used to drink, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
he
know
looks like
that.
the type
I
who
don't
used to
know
drink a
anything
lot.
about Joe Biden really.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I know like he's just been in politics his whole fucking life.
Like longer than we've been alive.
Yeah. Do you know
don't
about
trust
like
people
the
that don't
whole?
drink.
Do you know about the whole Trump Sudafed thing?
Mm-mm.
There's like a photo of him in his office from before his presidency, and like his drawers are open, or maybe it's a video and he opens up his drawers, one of those two, and like his drawers are just filled with Sudafed because he's like, it's basically like speed.
Well, yeah, they make if you order too much Sudafed, you want a list.
So
Not when you order too many AR-15s.
so apparently,
though.
like if you watch like a lot of his debates when he's like up, he's sniffing a lot.
He does
and he's
sniff
like
a lot, yeah.
speeding. So they're saying like he's like on meth,
That's great.
like not meth, you know,
great.
but basically like he's speeding.
Yeah, he's like on the core elements of meth. That's great. You can see how boring Leviticus is, right? Like, what the fuck are we even talking about Leviticus for?
They should make Trump a burnt offering. It's a lot of fat.
Ouch. Is he the fattest president ever?
Yes.
Yeah, he's got to be, right?
Which is funny. It used to be Taft. Taft used to be the fattest president.
He sounds fat.
But Taft for like the early 1900s, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like today, people like look at Taft would have been like 100-meter runner today in today's like world.
How old is Trump? He's pushing 80, right? Him and Biden both around the same age. Right?
Shit, man. He was like, I want to say early to mid 70s when he won the presidency.
Yeah,
so
so-
he's like late 70s, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Because, you know, I hate to say this. Like, you never say, hey, you know that fat old guy that lives down the street? You never say that because there are no fat old people. If you're fat, you don't reach 90, 100 years old.
Yeah.
Nobody. So it's amazing that he's still alive.
I mean, he's got money. And
true,
by
yeah.
the way, for 4
Best
years,
care.
he had.
The best.
Do you remember when
yeah.
he had COVID?
Yeah.
No, it was bad.
That's what it's coming out now. Yeah.
Like it was bad. Like you can even see like when he was like giving speeches, like there's clips on YouTube where like you could see like he ain't fucking breathing right. Like it was bad. And if he didn't have that like care,
Yeah.
he would have survived, but he had the best care. Because he's the president. Was. Always will be. By the way,
Always will
think
be.
about this. For the rest of American history, his picture will be in textbooks, you know, like history textbooks. His picture will be right there after Obama. That drives Obama fucking crazy, by the way, which is another funny thing. Because fuck Obama, because he was he was a fake fucking populist. One of the biggest disappointments. That's another thing. So whenever I'm out on Long Island with my sister's like friends, because they're all fucking Republicans, you know, they're always like, they always make fun of me because like Obama, because everything is binary. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yes.
If you're not a Republican, you must be
Yes.
like a supporter of
course,
Obama,
of course.
because like that's how they view the world. And it's like, nah, man, Obama was a massive disappointment because he talked a great populist game and then he fucking did nothing for anybody. You know what I mean? He was just this cold, calculated, like, politician who all he wanted to do was, like, preserve a legacy without doing anything. Like, without doing anything. He won a goddamn Nobel Peace Prize his first year in office after literally conducting the most drone strikes in the history of the world, killing countless fucking people.
Yeah.
Am I lying? I mean, that is...
You're not lying.
That's fact.
I even said, wow, that really cheapened that award, huh? Like, anybody could get it.
It's nonsense. So the fact
you know
that,
what?
like,
I want peace in the Middle East. Here's an award.
Right. You know why he was so loved? Because he wasn't Bush. Because Bush started that whole Iraq war, right? So after Bush, and that's another thing, Trump was such a piece of shit, he totally rehabilitated Bush. Like, all these Democrats are, like, in love with Bush now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, do you not fucking remember those 8 years? The fuck are you talking about?
I think history will look back, though, and I think George W. Bush, like, people, like, take the presidency away, he seems like a likable guy.
Yeah.
Like, when you see him interact and talk.
Sure.
Like, the whole thing with him and Michelle Obama with the jelly beans is weird. You ever see that? Every time they're together. Like,
I see every time they're together, he's like, yeah, he's playful with her. Yeah, that's the problem with George Bush. Like,
he's a clown.
if you separate, like, the presidency, you know, but that's like saying Ted Bundy was a very charming man and, like, you know, you should ignore, like, you know, the killings. And
of course. He didn't do anything to me.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, it's funny to think about Barack Obama being all pissed off that Donald Trump's picture is going to be right after him, like the first black president, followed by the first, I guess not the first Klansman president.
First orange president.
Yeah, it's just, it's fucking funny, man.
Yeah.
Where are we at right now in Leviticus?
Sucks.
So Leviticus 6 was wronging a neighbor. So, like, this is the rituals if you wrong a neighbor.
Oh, yeah, well, we went on to instructions concerning sacrifices.
That's
Fires on the altar to be
6,
kept burning, offering all night. And then Leviticus 7 was
in Leviticus
further
6, there's one more thing. Yahweh gives Moses instructions for how Aaron's sons will conduct rituals, which will be important later on.
Instructions concerning sacrifices?
I don't know, but specifically Yahweh tells Moses instructions. Yo, tell this to Aaron's sons. This is what they're going to have to do, like when because they're priests, so this is what they have to do during rituals, which is going to be important in Leviticus 10. Because they're not going to follow instructions.
I didn't go up to 10, so stop.
Yeah.
I gotta do it. You ready? Further instructions, Leviticus 7. If you eat while unclean, you're cut off from your kin. Mm-hmm. If you eat from an offering, like that wasn't yours, like eat fat from the offering, you're cut off from your kin. You eat blood. I never heard the term eat blood. I like that. Usually you drink it, right?
You drink it, right.
But I guess after a while it dries and it's like, you're cut off from your kin. And this is what was commanded to Moses on Mount Sinai. All this Leviticus stuff.
Question. Cut off from your kin doesn't mean exiled from the Israelites. It just means...
who the fuck knows what that means? It's just some weird punishment for like a weird thing. But he's stressing eating while being unclean, especially if you're eating the offering, that means you're in his presence and you're unclean. Maybe you eat from the fat from the offering. Fat and the blood is for the Lord. Maybe you're detained. Maybe they reprogram you. Maybe you're cut off from their kin because they make you disappear, either to get rid of you,
like
or
Scientology. Like when they send you off to like that secret
a boat or something.
Like they have like a whole bunch of secret facilities for like reprogramming. Like what's his name's wife like went to one and literally has not been seen for like a decade.
The guy who formed it, right? Not
the guy who formed it. Miscavige.
Yeah,
like his wife is gone. Like she was best friends with like Leah Remini.
Yeah,
and Leah Remini's like, where the fuck is she, man? Like
you watch that show? Like, Escaping Scientology. I caught a couple episodes of it, man. Yo, it's crazy.
It is crazy. I've seen like interviews and documentaries. It's
yeah. So then it brings us to
it's illegal in Germany
to be a Scientologist.
Mm-hmm. Because after like World War II, they came out with like all these crazy like laws. Like they don't have freedom of speech in Germany.
Yeah, you almost
like you can't be like Zig Heil because they will fucking throw you in jail.
Yeah, I hear like any like Nazi references.
Yeah, so like they went like they didn't even have like when they made movies about World War II, Hitler was never shown from the front. Like the actor who played Hitler was always like filmed from the back, and it was only that movie Downfall where they showed Hitler for the first time. You know the movie. It became like a meme on the internet, like Hitler being upset about something.
Maybe, yeah.
It's like, so everyone like Hitler's upset about like the latest Star Trek movie.
Was that to protect the actor playing Hitler? Like why only show him from the back? What to show him like not give him a level of respect?
No, I think it was just the taboo that like filmmakers hadn't broken yet. You know what I mean? Okay. Like it was just like that thing. Like they didn't show Hitler from the front. Maybe like they didn't want to, pay him respect, or it was like their way of saying "fuck you, Hitler."
I read some interesting things about Germany when people were talking about slavery in America and like why are we talking about it? Germany doesn't speak about the concentration camps and the Holocaust anymore. And someone wrote back like because they came to terms with it. They've already discussed it. They've come to terms with it and understood. So when you say a bunch of laws got passed after World War II, it's because they took a long, hard look in the mirror and said we need to change. Whereas in America, we haven't really looked in the mirror as hard as we should. Yeah. Was the kind of point they were making.
Yeah, I mean, two things on that. One, like maybe a decade ago, like that's when kids were like, why are we still like talking about German kids? Why are we still talking about like the Holocaust? We had nothing to, even our grandparents are dead, had nothing to do with it. So like the Germans really like suffered. They self-imposed like suffering after the Holocaust, rightly so. Fuck them, man. They fucked up big time. You know what I mean?
Nothing but love for them now.
And then like over the last decade, there was like a backlash with the youth, like being like, what the fuck, like we had nothing to do with this. We're not like racist, blah, blah, blah. That's point number one. Point number two about in America, we haven't had that kind of a reckoning.
Yeah.
I mean, where? You don't think in New York, like we learned and had a reckoning, you know what I'm saying? So it's America's a very big country, and that's what people need to understand also. And by the way, you know what I've been seeing on Twitter this week?
What?
People being like, I'm not going to travel to America. I don't want to get shot. Like all these like people like, I'm not going to go to America because I don't want to get like mass shot, like America's not a safe country. So, first of all, oh no. Oh, no, you mean you're not going to be hanging out on the corner of New York City fucking just blocking all fucking traffic, trying to figure out which fucking shitty restaurant you're going to eat in right now? You know what I mean? How about moving over to the fucking side by the building and letting people like walk by?
You mean on the sidewalk? Blocking
traffic, every
yes.
goddamn like group of tourists has to stop like at the corner, like right where people are crossing.
And you have to walk around the crowd, and like you're like 10 feet from the intersection now, waiting across.
Right. Now you got to walk through cars. You can't go through the crosswalk because it's like being... So that's one. Two, I've been in New York since 1977. Scott's been in New York since 1972. How many mass shootings have you been a part of, Scott? How many active shooter events have you?
Just one, I think.
Where? When?
Well, there was a time that my door got shot out, but we don't want to talk about it now.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. There was a time we got shot at by that bowling alley on Cross Bay Boulevard years and years ago.
I don't think I was there.
You weren't there for that one. So there's two. Then there was the guy that chased us with the... let's not talk about that. There was a couple. No mass shooting events,
I've never been involved in a shooting. Yeah. I've been here a long time. So fuck these fucking people.
Wrong place, wrong time. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah. So Scientology is banned in Germany because like Germans don't put up with like bullshit like that.
Yeah. because it's obviously a scam. When you see everything that goes on, it's obviously just milking people from their money.
Oh my God. It was basically like this guy figured out a way he didn't want to pay taxes, and he created this religion. And he wanted to get laid. And
don't even get me started. Like, churches and religious institutions should absolutely pay some form of tax. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I agree with that too. I don't know why they don't have
so
to pay
the
tax.
so the church just gets offerings. They get free money that they don't have to pay tax on. Mm-hmm. I actually have to go to work to pay tax on my salary.
Yeah.
That's
and
bullshit.
By the way, if you take that tax money and invest it, which is what you're encouraged to do, and then make a profit on that investment, then you get taxed on that also.
Yeah.
Or if you leave the money in like a 401k and then eventually take it out, you get taxed on that too. Not as much as you get taxed on it now, but still. You get taxed on money that's been taxed.
Yeah, I love the excuse that big corporate took away my pension was like, well, you should be managing your own money because on top of everything else in the world, I need to be an expert, a financial expert. Yeah. So, yeah, you worked here for like 24 years, but now we're going to take your pension from you. Oh, you should have invested in a volatile stock market. Like, that's what I need to be doing.
Well, I mean, it's volatile in the short
Whatever,
term.
man. You
It's
can't expect
only
normal,
short
regular
term.
people to, like, worry about, everything they got to worry about and then screw them on benefits they signed up for.
No, I hear you. That's definitely one thing that there's a schism between me and the left. So, like, there's a lot of parts about the left that I disagree on certain ideologies that the left has, and one of them being like, the stock market, where they're like, tax capital gains, this and that, and I'm like, but rich people aren't the only ones who have money in the stock market. You know what I mean? Like, regular people have money in the stock market. Not everyone on the left is poor and broke ass like fucking these fucking, millennials and fucking Gen Z, the Zoomers, they're called.
Oh, Zoomers? I didn't hear that. That's pretty cool.
They're not cool.
Oh, well, that's not. I didn't say they were. I'm not. Listen, I am not blaming the millennials for the plight they're in. Like people like to call them lazy.
Yeah, I'm not blaming them either.
Yo, man, they was handed a bucket of shit.
But they've definitely formed like some kind of like complex as a result of being fucked.
Oh yeah, but
causing them to be a bunch of whiny bitches.
Remember, it was a result of
they're whiny bitches.
And I'm telling you, that may be so. I'm just telling you, it's the result of being fucked. People love to point out like how groups of people act without looking at like how they got there.
Yes, I agree. Right. They didn't come out of the womb
like
being
lazy,
whiny
little
bitches.
Yeah, of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
Right. They were dealt a terrible, terrible hand.
Got nothing but for love, but for you millennials.
They can't buy a house because prices are just
insane.
Ridiculous. And that's, by the way, the only way in this country that generational wealth has accumulated, like through property, right, being passed down from generation to generation.
Ice-T had a great lyric that he'd never go broke. He's got property.
Nice. Yeah. He's an anti-Semite. Massive anti-Semite.
Damn it. Oh, I don't like him.
Scott's like about to buy his whole discography.
I was just about to play original gangster. I'll save it for the off time. Yeah, I don't know. That's just your opinion.
Okay. I mean,
all right. So that brings us to Leviticus 8, the rites of ordination. This is basically where they clean Aaron and the priests, and they get them dressed in their biosuits, and then Moses anoints the tabernacle and everything in it, including Aaron. Basically, they're preparing Aaron to go interact with this really...
With Yahweh.
Yeah, with Yahweh's, like, weak immune system.
Maybe Yahweh's like a leper or...
You know what? With all the shit about the leaven, obviously Yahweh's got technology. One word for you. EpiPen. Like, could you just have it on board? Like, in case of leaven, injected thigh? You know what it was? He probably had it until whoever fucking took over the company.
Is there a mothership?
There's got to be. Yeah, there's definitely got to be.
So there's like medical bays and whatnot.
But I bet you the fucking alien that invented the leaven and EpiPen took over the company and jacked the prices up like 1,000%. Like, you can't get them.
So wait, this isn't a military operation? You think this is like some private fucking like Elon Musk shit going on?
It was like a military operation right until like what's his name? Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney and Blackwater got involved, and then it became like a
private contractors, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so they got to bring their own like equipment. They got to buy their own like.
They had the best medical care right until like the the special interests got involved.
By the way, how fucked up was that? Do you remember during like the Iraq War, like parents were sending their kids like fucking bulletproof vests because the ones they had like weren't good enough, so they had to like
fucking insane. You know what pisses me off? That war brought out a lot of things to me when they were saying like when any election that was going on, like, oh, this guy voted 10 times to give the military better bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
And like, no, if you look into it, it was the bulletproof vest plus like Mitch McConnell's stuff in Kentucky. Like that had nothing to do with it. And like fucking that's what they were voting against.
Right.
But
they're called earmarks.
Yeah. How about what happened to line item veto? I thought they could say, no, that doesn't count. That's not in there.
So they've changed the rules so many times.
Yeah, I don't care.
That's why even to have a vote, you need 60 senators to approve a vote. They got rid of the filibuster. Remember the filibuster where you had to stand there and talk?
Yeah.
Now the filibuster is just like you say filibuster and that's it. It's a filibuster.
And these are the same fucking people that are talking about lazy Americans?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just say filibuster?
That's pretty much it. They don't even have to stand on the floor and filibuster anymore. They just say filibuster. That's why you need 60 fucking
By the way,
senators.
even that was fucking weird.
The filibuster?
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Somebody read the dictionary for 4 days.
I remember that. That's the rule that they should have had. Like, you can't like read shit. It's got to be relevant. But then the problem is like, who determines what's relevant?
You'd probably be good at filibustering, man.
Oh no.
You would just go off on tangents. You wouldn't let anybody
think
speak.
so?
Yeah.
Just toke up a little.
Yeah, I just keep throwing you weed. Yeah, Russ, that's relevant to the conversation. Keep going. All right, so that brings us to Leviticus 9. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Danny, do you do drugs every day?
Who's Danny?
Caddyshack.
Oh.
Remember Ty?
Did that movie hold up? Like, if I watched it now, would it hold up?
Yes.
Okay.
So does Airplane, by the way.
I love Airplane. I love Airplane 2 also.
Airplane is fucking hilarious. Oh, my God.
I tried watching...
I've seen it so many times, and it's still fucking great.
I tried watching Meatballs once, like recently.
Meatballs was terrible. Stripes was terrible.
No, we talked about this. We already talked about Stripes. The beginning of Stripes. I like the first half of Stripes.
I know. Even that's overrated. Except for Lighten Up Francis.
Lighten Up Francis. Aaron's priesthood inaugurated. So once the ceremony was over, Moses and Aaron went into the tent in front of the entire Israelite congregation. They came out and they blessed the people. And then the glory of the Lord appeared to all. Fire came out from the Lord and consumed the burnt offerings and the fat on the altar. All shouted and fell on their faces. Yeah. All that shit they gave him, they got threw into the fucking coal oven. The fucking locomotive started going, and they fucking took off.
So
that's what this shit is, man.
So like all like the fat from the animals, all that, the entrails, that's like fuel for his.
It's either fuel.
But where's he going?
It's either fuel, or other stuff they need.
Right.
Once they had enough, they blast off. Maybe it wasn't fuel for the ship. Maybe it was fuel for them.
Yeah.
And where are they going? Away from these fucking people.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
But I thought the whole promise was like, I'm going to travel with you. Even though you're piece of shit stiff-necked fucks, I can't even look at you.
He said, I can travel with you because I'd certainly consume you. He's not traveling with them. So now that they blasted off, now they can pack their shit up and go however long they got to go.
Oh, and then he'll show up again for more fuel.
And they're going to fucking do this, I assume. That's why the tabernacle's on wheels, right?
Right.
It's all got to get packed up and fucking...
So what's the end game?
I don't know. Where are they going? Right.
Well, forget the Israelites. They're going to wherever they think they're gonna like get their kingdom that's been promised to them. But if Yahweh's an alien, what's like the ultimate end game? Do you think?
I That's just why you tune in every week.
To listen to us just vomit, think out loud.
No, that's why you tune into this story, not our story. This story.
Oh, this story. Oh, to find out where this is heading.
And I think when we're done with this, we're going to find out like biblical scholars, they're not really reaching in to get what all this means.
Right.
They're coming up with intelligent ways to convince you that's not what it means.
Right.
This is not an alien.
Right.
Right. They're protectors of the bullshit.
I see. It's like a CIA, like what do they call those ops?
Black op?
Not a black op.
Covert
disinformation.
Disinformation campaigns, yes.
Right. Like they pump out like bullshit to make like alien shit, you know? Like they'll like leak like alien footage and be like, you know.
Well, that's a complete misdirection campaign because they want you to look
at
up
how
and
ridiculous this is. Like
they want to look up and say, yeah, we'll let Roswell's story out. Because we don't want you to know that was the SR-71 Blackbird we were testing. Right. You know, so we'd rather you think it was aliens.
Right.
Like we purposely put that in your head.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. What do you think's going on right now with all that shit that they're doing, like the hearings and like you think it's like technology that we're testing out, or you think it's just like bullshit, like unexplained, like camera phenomenon, or just like
I think it's a combination of a lot.
Atmosphere like phenomenon.
I think it's a combination of a lot. I think anything that
instruments malfunction, because that would be even worse if like our instruments malfunction to the point where like we're seeing shit on like radars moving in ways that like that's like a vulnerability.
Sure,
it's almost better for them to say these are aliens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we don't need to find out it's like a North Korean. Well, it's not North Korean, but like
no.
Like
what I'm saying is we don't want China finding out that our instruments have a vulnerability.
Oh shit!
That fucking, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's almost better for them to say, "Oh, we picked up like aliens on our radar," than to say our radars are not working, like
or
under certain conditions.
Our pilots were fucked up.
Right, right.
And I don't mean on drugs, like maybe the oxygen. It was one
right.
Like when it came out with the F-35, the F-22, they had oxygen problems
and
stuff.
So if you're going for like Occam's razor, right? Like it's nice to think about aliens, and I'm sure aliens exist in our galaxy even, right? Intelligent aliens. Sure, of course. But it doesn't mean that they're here on Earth.
Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, I think it's a combination of all the things you said. I think it's a combination of all of those except for aliens. Like I don't think it's any.
Right.
Like, it's an unidentified aerial phenomenon. It doesn't mean it's an alien spaceship.
Because if it was aliens, there wouldn't be like hearings about it, right? Like it would have been made public.
You got to think somebody. There's a smoking man out there somewhere that knows what the fuck's going on.
Right, but and if he would not let it get out into the public if it was aliens.
Well, but listen, things are gonna happen. Everybody's got a fucking camera in their pocket now. Like these things are gonna happen.
But none of the things are like from cameras of regular people. None of the
real good stuff
had to do with any of that, right? It was all like military shit. So why would they release it? If it was really aliens, why would they release it?
You're right. Good point. All right. I'm gonna say this. So far, Leviticus sucks.
Yeah.
And
but we're awesome.
I hate to tell. I was going to say I hate to tell the fans this. They might be listening to more of our banter than less of the Bible if Leviticus doesn't pick up an interesting stuff.
Yeah, Leviticus probably won't pick up, but we're going to breeze through it because I think Leviticus only has like 20-something chapters. We're almost halfway through Leviticus, so we're going to breeze through Leviticus. What do we end with? Leviticus 8 or 9?
9. We're going to go to 10, which was, I saw the heading was like 2 names. So I was like, all right, new characters, story. Like, maybe this, I feel like this should have been part of Exodus, what we just read.
Yeah.
It seemed very Exodus-like.
Right.
But if all Leviticus is like this, then it's Exodus and Leviticus-like. So
maybe that's why this is. It's like a supplement to Exodus, and that's why it's short.
Bible log supplemental.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think we're ever going to find out who Leviticus is or what a Leviticus is?
I told you Leviticus refers to the tribe of the Levites.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know why. Like, does this only apply to the Levites?
Do you think the Levites gotta like step up like they're all about God because Levi kind of sounds like leaven, and they don't want to be associated with leaven, so they have to like try extra hard to win God's grace. That's why they had no problem killing 3,000 people.
I'm trying to remember Levi. He was one of the brothers, right? So like the tribes are named after Israel's sons.
Right.
Remember those scumbags that fucking tried to kill Joseph and like played off like a boar fucking mauled him, you know? So Levi was one of those. I'm trying to remember if he was like a real major like asshole or like if he was just like, you know, a bystander.
Was Levi? Wasn't he the guy that was like, yo, let's not kill him?
No, that was another guy.
Oh.
And he got fucked the most by Israel on Israel's deathbed because apparently he slept with like one of Israel's concubines. Remember, like he went up on the bed with...
Right.
I forgot his name. Right. I don't think it was Levi.
I don't think Levi was the worst guy, but the Levites, not cool people, man. They would just...
You don't think so?
They would be the sympathizers for an occupying force.
The Levites might have been the ones, by the way, that carried out Moses' 3,000-person atrocity.
They did carry it out. That's why I'm talking about it. Yeah, no, man.
You didn't say that, though.
I did say that.
No, you didn't.
You're going to replay this and you're going to hear I said it.
Okay.
Maybe. Earlier I said it. Whatever. They are the ones that carried it out.
I know. I just said
They
that.
suck.
Are we done?
I think we're done. Peace.
All right. See you later.